Welcome, everyone. I am Bridget Flaherty. I'm the Director of Global Engagement at the Chicago School. So, among other things, I help to manage our study abroad programs, including the one we're going to talk about today, which will be traveling to South Africa this fall in December. And I'm joined by Dr. Reihling and Dr. Bruaski, who are the faculty leads for this course. And what we're going to do today is I'm going to go over some of the basics of study abroad, things related to the application process, financial aid, registration, things that you'll need to know. And then I'm going to hand it off to them so that they can go over specifics of the course, including the itinerary, what it's going to look like traveling there. And they just led this course this last December, so probably sharing some information and stories from what that was like when they went this last time around. So to start out with, I do just want to share a couple things related to the benefits of study abroad. This first one is some research that was done by the Institute on International Education. And what they did is they looked at the skills that students gain by going on study abroad programs, as well as what employers are looking for and value in their employees. And they found that there's a lot of overlap between these areas. So what you see here are the skills that fall under interpersonal. So that's things like tolerance for ambiguity, flexibility, intercultural skills, things that I'm sure you can imagine tend to be things that you would use and need when you're traveling in other cultures. Cognitive skills, things like problem solving, confidence, and then also interpersonal skills like leadership and teamwork. And then the other more recent research that has come out related to study abroad is related to students who study abroad having a higher average salary after they study abroad, after they graduate once they've studied abroad. This particular study was done specifically with business schools and graduates from business schools, but there is also research in other areas that shows that across different fields, different career areas that you go into, as well as across the countries that you can study abroad in, and as you can see here, across the academic achievement spectrum. So even students who are have been a C average student were shown to see a similar boost in the salary that they're earning after they study abroad. And so just different ways that it can really affect you and help you in your future career, your current career. And then we also do hear just qualitatively from a lot of our students who've studied abroad what a life-changing experience it has been for them. And so those personal and career related benefits that they get out of going on one of our programs. So I want to go over a few different areas related to what study abroad looks like at the Chicago School, starting with the fact that all of our programs are developed by our faculty. They develop these courses within their area of expertise with about current and relevant issues in the discipline. They're developed for predominantly for graduate students, including this course, which is a graduate student course with an academic focus. All of our study abroad courses include a service learning project where you would be working with the local community. And most of our study abroad courses, including this one, are offered for 3 credits that you can have count towards your degree. And I'll talk a bit more about that in a few minutes. Because of our student body, because most of you are very busy with school, part-time or full-time work, other types of responsibilities like taking care of family members, maybe being involved in your local community, it can be difficult to study abroad for an entire term or semester. And because of that, we've developed our courses where you would be studying, in this particular course, you'd be studying online, and then you would be traveling at the end of the term for usually between 8 to 12 days. And so this makes it a lot easier to take that amount of time away from your day-to-day life, whether that's asking your supervisor for some time off from a practicum, from a full-time job, or finding childcare, things along those lines. That's why we developed the courses this way, because most of our students wouldn't be able to leave for 2 to 4 months. And we do have financial aid available for study abroad. The most important piece of this is to make sure that the course will count towards your degree requirements. And what you would do is you would talk with your department chair to determine if you can substitute the study abroad course for a required course that's in your department. This is an easier process within the marriage and family therapy program because it's offered or developed by these faculty in that department. And so they would be able to speak to where it might be able to fit within that degree program, but it is also possible to have it count as an elective or a diversity course or something like that in many of our other programs at the Chicago School. The only program that does not accept course substitution for study abroad is international psychology. That's because they have required field experiences, and study abroad courses can't take the place of those field experiences. So just to be aware of that. We have had students in international psychology still go on study abroad programs, but they haven't been eligible for financial aid because it doesn't count towards their degree. So they're paying out of pocket for it. So just to be aware of that. Otherwise, it does need to meet the standard rules and it will count towards your total loan limit for aid. The most important thing is to discuss this with financial aid if it's going to be an important part of your decision whether or not you can afford to study abroad. And as some of you may know, there are some changes coming to federal financial aid beginning on July 1st, so in just a few weeks. And it's still a little bit unclear at this point how much that's going to affect most of our current students. And so that's why I would recommend that you talk to the financial aid staff so you can find out how it will affect you and your individual situation. If any of you do receive military benefits that help you pay for school, you should talk to the military benefits staff to determine what those could cover. Typically, those will help cover your the tuition. As long as it's counting towards your degree program, typically the military benefits would be able to cover the tuition for the course, but they don't usually cover the additional costs like the program fee, airfare, things like that. And I'll talk a bit more about the other costs of the program to keep in mind in just a few slides. We do also have a study abroad scholarship. Although the deadline was on May 31st for these programs, we did send an email to anyone who had started their application to let you know to apply by May 31st if you wanted to be considered for those. And if you did apply by then, we will be letting everyone know a couple weeks ahead of the final application deadline in August, so that you will know whether or not you have received a scholarship, if that's going to help you make your decision. Any questions so far? I know I'm going through a lot of information. Okay, and feel free to put them in the chat or unmute yourself if you do have any questions as we go along.
I have a question.
Yeah.
A question. It's actually a question from a student who asked me um, when when they would be able to still withdraw without having to pay the full program fee for
Mhm.
this.
Yep. And I'm actually going to go over that on this slide. So that's perfect timing. Yeah. So just to start out with all of our programs, we do use the term calendar that's from the prior term than when the course will run. And that's because we need to let our service provider know in advance. We need to let them know months in advance before we travel if we have enough students to run the course, and then start paying for the hotels and reserving the other things that need to be confirmed ahead of time. And so for this course, the application deadline is August 16th. So that's the final day that students can apply for the course. And then they have until the add drop for fall one, which is August 30th. So that's, even though this is a fall two course, we're running on those earlier term dates. And so August 30th is the last day that a student could choose to drop the course and still receive a refund of that program fee. Because the day after, on August 31st, that's when we will confirm that we have at least 12 students enrolled, that we're going to run the course, and then we will move ahead with paying our program provider in South Africa. So that's basically the way it works. And we do send a reminder to all students of that deadline, both we send it when students have been accepted to the course, we'll let you know that date. And then also once you've been registered for the course, we send another reminder to say that if you do change your mind and you want to drop the course, August 30th is that final date to do so. And then, so basically, to apply for the course, we have an application online on the global portal. I will share links to that in the email, and I can also put them in the chat when I'm done with this part. But you'll go online to apply. It's a pretty simple application process. It doesn't take very long. And then I also recommend that you start the conversation then with your department about the course substitution petition and whether or not the course can count towards your degree. So once you've submitted your application online, our office will do an eligibility review, and that includes making sure that you're an active degree seeking student, both at the time that you apply and during the term that the course will run, so that you'll still be an active student in fall two. That as a graduate student, you have a cumulative GPA of 3.0 or higher, that you don't have any holds on your account, and that includes both academic and financial holds. Sometimes a student will apply, we'll see that you have a financial hold on your account because you're still paying your account balance. We'll let you know that your application is on hold until you resolve that. So it is possible to then continue with your application once you've paid the balance due and have that financial hold removed. And then you also cannot have a pending student and community standards hearing, which is basically the student conduct process at the Chicago school. Once we've gone through all of this and determined that you're eligible for study abroad, then we're going to share your information with the faculty and they will reach out to you to schedule a time to interview. That's basically a time for them to get to know you a little bit better, see what your interest is in the course and determine if it would be a good fit for you to enroll in the course for all of those reasons. And then they will let us know if you've been accepted for the course, and then we'll let you know. So basically, we'll ask you to go into the portal and decide if you want to go ahead and enroll in the course. You can't register yourself for these study abroad courses and you can't drop them yourself. All of that's done through our office because of the fact that we have the additional eligibility and the interview process. So you would just need to communicate with us to let us know that you want to register, or if you did decide to drop, that you want to drop the course. Any other questions about this, about the application process? Okay, if not right now. So a little bit more about the cost of attending. So you would pay tuition for this course, which is the same as the tuition for 3 credit hours at your degree level. And then you would also pay for the program fee. So as you can see, that program fee listed here is just under $4,000. That includes all of the lodging, like the hotels while you're in country. It includes all of the activities, entrance fees, all of the official parts of the program. It typically includes a couple of meals, and I know that the faculty will speak more to what's covered under that. It also covers the supplemental travel insurance that I'll talk about more. And basically, that program fee is going to be charged to your student account at the same time that your tuition is charged for fall two. So you will see that listed on your account and it will be marked as a study abroad program fee. So you know what it is. And then you're able to pay that same fee you're able to pay that at the same time that you're paying your tuition. So in the same way that you would pay your account balance due, you would do that at the same time. And as we were talking about earlier, that's that fee that's not refundable beginning on August 31st. So August 30th is the last day that you can drop that course, and the last day that it's refundable, starting on August 31st, that program fee is not refundable at that point. And then you would also need to book your own airfare because our students are coming from many different home cities. We don't do any type of group flight where everyone travels together. But if you are, you might be coming from the same city as another student, and often it's nice to coordinate and choose to fly together. But just to know that you will need to book your own airfare, so that's an additional cost. And then if you do need to apply for a passport, if you need a visa, immunizations, some of those other extra costs to factor those in as well. So, just a little bit more here about financial aid. As I mentioned, it's important to talk to the financial aid staff to determine what it will look like to you. But typically, the way it works is that any of those additional costs beyond the program fee and the tuition, you would be booking your plane ticket first and paying other travel expenses first. And then you would submit receipts along with a form that the financial aid office has for reimbursement. So that's usually been the way that that works. And that's the part that I'm not sure if any of that will change, if those costs would still be covered after those new rules on July 1st. So please talk to financial aid to determine more about how that will work for you. And in general, up until this point, it's been financial aid has been able to cover tuition, the program fee, airfare, and other travel costs as well for graduate students. Any questions about financial aid? And I'm sorry I don't have more specifics right now. I've been waiting to find out more from the financial aid office myself. Okay. So I mentioned that supplemental insurance. This is meant to be in addition to your standard health insurance, and it's for emergency and evacuation purposes. So if you were to have some health issue or injury happen while you're traveling in South Africa, you would be able to go to a local clinic or hospital. You typically pay out of pocket first and then submit the receipt and a form to get reimbursed later. And we always share this information through email before you travel too, so you have all of the contact information. And we can also help you with that reimbursement process if you need it. But basically, it covers you during the days that you are all there for the program, as well as up to 7 days before and after those dates. So if any of you, for instance, decide to stay for additional time once the program ends, it would cover you while you're in South Africa, but it would not cover you if you travel to a different country at that time. For any type of ADA related accommodations, you would have the same ones covered while traveling as you do currently have at the Chicago school. But sometimes students need additional ADA accommodations related to travel. So just to think about that, if there's anything, you'll hear more about the itinerary and what it looks like in terms of accessibility, how much you'd be walking every day or moving around every day, whether you might need extra time for that due to some type of ADA related accommodation. If you might need something like making sure that there's a fridge in your hotel room because you have medication that needs to be kept cold. That's something that's come up with students before. Just other things along those lines to think about that and reach out to the Office of Student Accessibility. They actually have a study abroad accommodations request form that you can fill out. And it's good to do this ahead of time because then they will work with our office, the faculty, and the service provider to make sure that you have what you need to be able to travel and stay in country. So before we approve any of our study abroad programs, we always make sure that we do a risk assessment and we make sure that it's a safe place for you to travel to. So that's something we've already done with this program. But I do always want to remind you that that we keep an eye on this. So if anything if anything changes between now and your travel in December, we would be letting you know if for some reason it was no longer safe to travel and if we had to cancel the travel part of the program. This rarely happens, but it has happened before. The most notable example would be during COVID when no one could travel and we had to cancel multiple programs. But also if there was anything else going on, like civil unrest, war, things along those lines, we've had to cancel travel for those reasons as well. And then also just to keep in mind that you have to be handing in your assignments, passing the course, doing what you need to do in order to be eligible to travel as well by the time that comes. So there's quite a few links and things on here where you can look at the different information about study abroad programs. Like I said, I'll share this as well, and I'll also put some of these links in the chat that you can check those out there. Does anyone have any questions about what I've covered?
Yeah, yeah. What about any updates on Ebola that's going kind of surfing around this part of
I don't have
Africa?
any I don't have any current updates on that, but that's a good question, and that is something that we keep an eye on. And once we'll wait until closer to, like for instance, this summer we'll keep an eye on it. So if anything were to change where it was determined that it's unsafe to travel there, we would let you know ahead of that August deadline. But then also we'll be keeping an eye on that in the fall for that or anything else that might come up in the meantime. One thing we talk about during our pre-travel orientation is looking into any of those things and what the CDC is currently recommending in terms of safety for travel, as well as immunizations and vaccinations and things along those lines.
I mean, what I can say is that those Ebola outbreaks are in East Africa and not in Southern Africa. But I mean, who knows? Like, but I definitely wouldn't want to go on a trip if there are outbreaks in South Africa.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think I was reading a update probably last week, and I think it started spreading somewhere around I think Kenya. I'm not sure because I had just kind of went weaved through it, but yeah, it did start in East Africa. So hopefully,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's a great question. It's good to keep up to date on that too. Any other questions right now? I'll stop sharing this as well. So if you want to pull up yours, you can do that.
Okay, that's gonna continue. And yeah, my name is Dr. Hans Reiling. I've um, I went to South Africa for the first time in 2007 for my ethnographic field work and have been going there on and off ever since. So I'm core faculty in the MFT program, going into distance education this fall, and yeah, I'm very excited about this program being able to offer it because I spent a lot of time in South Africa and met a lot of really interesting and passionate people, and I want our students to go there and connect with these people and learn about things they otherwise wouldn't learn in the US. You want to say something about yourself, Dr. Bruaski?
I would love to. So I'm Dr. Bruaski. I'm also one of the core faculty for the MFT program, currently in San Diego and also transferring to our online program. I went to South Africa the first time when we did this trip. So I brought some different knowledge into it, but had a lot of fun and it was beautiful and so much fun. So I'm definitely excited to go again.
Thank you. I think we covered most of this. Just want to say that this course is worth 3 credit units, and it's an asynchronous online course for the first part of fall term 2, and then we'll go on the trip. And flights can range from anywhere between 1,200 to $1,800. It fluctuates. That's something you have to check, but that would be an additional cost, as it has been mentioned before. And there's an optional safari that you could go on, and maybe Dr. Broski can say a little bit more about that. I haven't done that so far. Then Yeah, those are that's a timeline more or less. Travel dates, you know them, and the optional safari would be then a day or two, December 13th and 14th. But that would be up to you, and you would have to cover the additional cost for that.
Uh,
Yeah.
I'll jump in real quick
Yep.
just about the safari. So I did the safari last year, and it was truly one of the highlights of the trip for me. So it was just a really great experience. I went with a couple students. We kind of went and because there's one location, so we all ended up together. But highly recommend. And for me, it was definitely one of those things like if I'm gonna go all the way to South Africa, like I'm gonna do as much as possible. So I added on some additional days, um, and definitely think it was worth the extra fees and all of that. So yeah, and I have tons of videos of being very close to elephants. So it's great.
Great. Yeah, and the course topics or the main topic is human development, and we want students to learn about human lifespan development from an African perspective and also learn from local human rights initiatives and from people working and living in the community. Those are the course assignments. Do you want to say a little bit about assignments? Something about assignments, Dr. Borowski?
Yeah, so the assignments are set up to be the majority of your work is done before you leave. But there are some assignments that also carry on while you are there. So, looking at the assignments, there is a textbook associated with this course that involves weekly quizzes, and those are set up in Canvas. Um, can you actually go back one slide real quick? And then there Oh, I see. Wait. Yes. So then, sorry. The second big assignment is if you want to go ahead, go forward, Dr. Reihling. You, you were better at this than I am. But so there are two texts in addition to the textbook. Two texts written by South African authors. So one of the assignments is to read those and then kind of write about them and the experience and what you see there. The other big travel assignment is there is a journal required while you are traveling. So what we did last year is students worked on it throughout the time, and then in our final dinner is when I reviewed everything and kind of signed off on those. So that is the second or one of the big assignments that I will say. And then the capstone project is a comparison of, or before we get to the capstone, there is one additional, the soundtrack of my life assignment. So that is another assignment you complete before you go, where you pick some songs from different periods of your life and kind of explain to us why they are important for you and what they represented at that time. And then we make a playlist that we listen to when we're in South Africa. So a lot of these assignments you do first, and then we kind of bring them with us. And then the capstone assignment, the big one, is the analysis of a family life cycle through one of the theories that you learn about. So really, you're just taking all the knowledge you're gaining in the course and really applying it to your own life and seeing those different developmental theories. Um, yeah, I think those are the big things about the assignments. The students really loved Period Pain and Cry the Beloved Country. They're very different, but very interesting. And I will say Period Pain, I think, could easily be read in an hour or two. It's a very quick read. Cry the Beloved Country is a little longer, but both are very descriptive about South Africa and particularly the areas we'll be going to. So definitely recommend them. Yeah. I
You're,
think those are the main assignments, right?
yeah, that's basically it. You're a quick reader, Dr. Borowski.
That's true. But it is a shorter book.
All right. So I'll go quickly through the program, and day one would be arrival and in-country orientation. We we go to a place called the Cape Town Lodge. It's a hotel pretty much downtown, so you'd be able to walk around, have access to stores, cafes, restaurants, And first day, there are no other activities and just the in-country orientation. Then second day, we'll go on a transcending history tour with a local human rights activist, Lucy Campbell, and she's been doing these tours for a long time, really to help people get a sense of colonial history and how that still can be traced in the cityscape of Cape Town. The tour ends in the slave lodge that you see that here on the picture, and it's a very moving and meaningful experience, or at least has been for me, and I think for a lot of students. In I think I misnumbered this a little bit, but this would be in the afternoon of day two. We'll go to the Triangle Project, and that's an organization that offers mental health services to LGBTQ plus communities in Cape Town. And here, like, people will talk about their struggles and also the opportunities that are there in South Africa for local activism. And then day three, we'll join the trauma center and learn from trauma therapists and local counselors. So when we went there in December last year, we would have like different vignettes addressing issues around addiction, parenting, and so forth. And then the counselors from the trauma center and our students would come together and talk about ways they would address like these topics and these problems. And it's very interesting to see the different perspectives from people coming from different communities. Then in the evening, late afternoon, we go to Table Mountain to see the sunset. And that's a really unforgettable experience. There's a cable car going up there, so don't worry, we won't walk all the way up to that mountain. And then day four, we'll engage in a service learning project at a local high school in the Cape Flats in an underserved community. And you will, as part of your assignments, you will come up with an educational activity. You will design an educational activity that you will then deliver at that local school. And we had great feedback there from the students. They were so happy um, and glad to have somebody from outside of the community, especially from the US, come in and provide like different perspectives. Because particularly in that community, there are not a lot of educational opportunities outside of that school. Then day five, you will learn about apartheid history. We'll take a boat to visit Robben Island, and that's where Nelson Mandela, the anti-apartheid activist and later first president, democratically elected president of South Africa, was imprisoned for 18 years out of his 27 years that the apartheid regime kept him incarcerated. That's also a very moving experience because some of the people who show you around, the guides, have been inmates themselves, and they will talk about their experiences and how it was actually to be imprisoned at that place at the time in the 80s and 90s. Then the afternoon, we have optional activities. last year there was the rugby tournament that we went to, which is great. You can also just hang out at the beach. That will be up to you. Day 6 will be the Grand Peninsula Tour, and there you will see all the great sightseeing places around the peninsula, including the Cape Penguins. We also saw some baboons and other game, and you'll just enjoy like the beautiful landscape at the Cape. Day 8 will be about lectures at the University of Cape Town, and we have a connection with the psychology department there, and there you will learn about African perspectives on psychology with Dr. Mandisa Malinga, and you will also hear about theories on human development with Dr. Andy Dawes. In the afternoon, we will head to Newlands Forest, and this will be a nature experience with Kshetra Govinda Sami, and he will provide uh, yeah, guidance in meditation and ways to interact with the natural environment. An optional visit to Kirstenbosch Gardens is also included in that. Day 8 will focus on a workshop on African personhood with Dr. Shahida Jansen, clinical psychologist who developed the multidimensional model of personhood that is informed by the Ubuntu principle about like relational being from an African perspective. And she has some great activities and practices that our students last year greatly enjoyed. She was also here as a visiting scholar last year, and I'm glad that she'll work with our students again. I have some misnumbering here. I apologize for that because we switched some activities around from last year to just streamline the whole experience. On that afternoon of day 8, we will go on a township tour, and townships are historical sites that were basically, those were neighborhoods that were divided during the apartheid era and where only people classified as black or colored could live. And nowadays, like there's much more of a mix in Cape Town, but still the townships struggle with the legacy of apartheid, with a lot of poverty and violence. But there are also very positive developments, and that make people hopeful, like bridges. You see the picture here. We went there in Langa Township. It's a music academy that works with local youth and artists, and you'll see how they produce music. And then day 10, we will go to Stellenbosch, or the area near Stellenbosch. There's a place called Babylon's Toren. It's an amazing farm where you also have the option of doing some wine tasting if you like to do that, but also learn about the history of farming, the colonial history, and you can purchase a lot of very delicious goodies and some of our forum participants, or Dr. Bruaski, could tell you more about that. Then we have during that time also International Human Rights Day, and in South Africa we have the 16 Days of Activism campaign to end gender-based violence. And they're usually during that time, there are different events all over the city. So it's hard to say yet which event we'll join, but we'll keep you posted on that. And then last day will be, during the day will be free. You could do whatever you want, explore on your own. In the evening, there will be the farewell dinner where you can taste some delicious African food. And then day 11 would be departure or the optional safari. Would you want to add anything, Dr. Bruaski?
No, I think you covered most of it. I would just say to add a little bit more, this again, the safari can be, they have many options as far as days goes, like how long you want to stay there. So that is definitely like a possibility. And I think there were a lot of, it's just a really fun kind of city and a lot of fun things to do. So I can answer more specific questions, but nothing to add.
Okay. So I have a short video. It's like 2 or 3 minutes, and I put together some impressions. It's not exhaustive. It's not all, it doesn't include all the events that we covered last year, but it might give you a little bit of a sense of how this experience might look like. So I'll share this with you. There we go.
By using your whole body, your whole body, your whole body, your whole body. My name is Fazi. Yeah! I like to laugh. Yeah! Jump in, jump out, introduce yourself. Jump in, jump out, introduce yourself.
So under colonialism, our indigenous cultures did not have rigid gender roles in the way that colonialism imposed on us, right? All of that came with the church and with the Europeans.
So what we're going to do is that we're going to inhale for 4 seconds, and we're going to hold it for 4 seconds, then we're going to exhale, and then we're going to rest.
So it's rights education all the time, human rights education. It's also a positive youth development framework that I'm working, and trauma-informed framework, because there are more to the problems there. That the answers reside in them, and young people have agency, and using that agency means that they can be the change.
And my experience here today was amazing, and I learned a lot. And there's a deeper self. There's a deeper, you got to know yourself even deeper. So this experience was really great, and thank you guys for coming out to us.
This has been invaluable. Your kids have so much energy, and they're so willing to do whatever is put in front of them. They were ready and listening and attentive and engaged. And I know, right? and eager to learn. I think they're eager to spend time with us, and it made me personally, feel really special.
All right, any questions?
Yeah, when do we go? No.
Well, if there's not any questions right now, you can always email later. You can email the faculty if you have questions about the course. You can email my office if you have questions about the process to apply or anything along those lines. But yeah, thank you for joining us today. And I will probably most likely tomorrow, I'll be sending out the video and the slides so you have access to all of that and the links to apply as well. I know I mentioned the application deadlines in August. I do recommend applying early because applications are reviewed on a first come, first served basis. So it's a good idea to apply early if you can.
I would say the only thing I want to add real quick is we will be holding a group interview to kind of get the process started on June 23rd at 2 p.m. So Bridget, I think you can speak a little bit more to like what is needed to get to that stage, but just want to throw that on everyone's radar that June 23rd at 2 p.m. we'll be starting those.
Yeah, I would recommend applying in order to have the eligibility review done ahead of time, applying by early next week to make sure that that could be done before then.
So is that the application for the one that I did one on the global engagement website? Is that the application?
Yeah, and if you, the first, and I'll send this in the email too, but the first link I put in the chat was to the program information and it has a little button that says apply now. So you would click
Yeah.
to start that process. Yep, that's right.
Okay, I did that one. Okay.
Great.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.